Hey guys, how's it going? This is BillyEatWorld, and on today's episode of a Battlefield Player Versus, we're taking a look at the Crucible mode in Destiny. Now, this episode is going to be a little different from the normal format. Normally I do these episodes live, and yesterday I actually tried to do that. The video I ended up making, though, was so unintentionally negative that I thought, seriously, I can't post this. The reason it was so negative is because the PvP multiplayer in Destiny, known as the Crucible, can be rage-inducing at times, and that's honestly the exact opposite of what a video game should be about. Most of the criticism I've seen so far about this game has been on Destiny's lackluster campaign and repetitive single player, but I haven't seen many people address the issues with the PvP side of things, and honestly I think this is where the real problems are. Now, if you're already above level 20 in Destiny and you've been playing a whole lot of multiplayer, then you might find yourself disagreeing with the points that I'll bring up in this video. If this is the case, don't click off or hit that dislike button. Let me know what you think in the comment section below so that everyone else can see what you're thinking. By the same token, if you agree with me, then let me know as well, because something tells me it's not just me who feels this way. Before we start though, I should point out that I didn't think that the single player campaign was that bad, and while I didn't think it was the best game that I've ever played, I did have a lot of fun with it. I had pretty high hopes for the PvP multiplayer though, even knowing that it was a 6v6 close quarters style game, and unfortunately I've been pretty disappointed so far. The main reason that I think the Crucible is so damn frustrating is because the difficulty curve of this game is so ridiculously high. It's not that the game itself is that hard, I mean, think Crysis 3 and you're just about there. It's basically a COD style sci-fi shooter with a long time to kill and a whole bunch of special abilities thrown into the mix. A lot of people would say it's a cross between Halo and COD, but the fact is it's nowhere near as easy to jump into as either of these games, and honestly I don't think it's going to gain anywhere near the same player base as either of these franchises. The biggest thing that I think that Bungie messed up with this game is linking the single player to the multiplayer. Now, I know a lot of people would disagree with me here, but hear me out and I'll try and explain. Like most RPG style games, you gain new abilities with new levels, and these transfer over and are usable in the Crucible. Another thing that carries over is the stats progression that you gain with higher levels and any upgrades that you've made to your weapons. Now, one thing that I will give this game is that they balance out weapons to some degree in the Crucible so that everyone has roughly the same damage output. This doesn't mean that you don't get a benefit from a legendary weapon though, but at least they aren't out damaging the regular weapons, and in theory this should give even the lowest level characters a fighting chance. The class abilities are more of an issue because lower level players won't have all the abilities unlocked, and they'll have to rely on pretty much the gunplay alone to get the job done. Giving higher level players more abilities might make sense in single player, but it's been proven time and time again that it's not a good way to balance an FPS game. And considering stats progression is part of the ability system, clearly high level players are gonna have an advantage here. The other issue with the level-based system in Destiny is that a common thing that people will say when it comes to the Crucible is that things start to get easier once you've unlocked some of the special Crucible weapons and armor. The legendary weapons aren't such a huge deal, but the armor has effects that'll give you buffs, and the problem is that you can't unlock this gear until you've at least reached level 20. This means that you've seriously got to invest a lot of time into the game before you can start unlocking specific Crucible gear, and this puts you at a disadvantage straight off the bat if you just want to jump in and casually play a few rounds at a low level. Now, not being able to unlock gear isn't even the worst thing about the level-based system. You can't even unlock the Crucible full stop until you've reached level 5, and even then you have to go looking for an NPC to unlock it for you. I mean, can you imagine if the next Call of Duty forced you to play the campaign for an hour or two before you could even get into multiplayer? People would be up in arms, and although I realise that Destiny is more focused on the single player, it's still a stupid limitation. Now, by now, some of you are no doubt already starting to think, well, the level system isn't really as big of a problem as you might think. But let me put it this way, if you bought the game at launch and you've played through to level 20 plus already, you were probably facing guys of roughly the same level all the way to where you are now. Now imagine trying to get into Crucible now that half the players in any server are level 25. In fact, this gameplay is from one of my first Crucible rounds, where most of the players in the server were around the same level as me. As you can see, I'm doing pretty well, but fast forward 2 or 3 days, and now I'm just coming up against shitbucket after shitbucket. But anyway, even if you still don't agree with me, let's move on to the gunplay and the core gameplay itself, because that's a whole other pile of shit. If you think Battlefield 4 netcode is bad, well, Destiny's netcode isn't any better, in fact it's probably even worse. Getting insta-killed is something that you'll have to deal with on a regular basis, and as there isn't any dedicated servers, you can't even manually select a server in your region to make it any better. I mean, I'm from Australia, so I'm pretty used to bad internet connections, but I don't notice hardly any issues in BF4 and pretty much any other populated online multiplayer games. Destiny is just bad, well, for me at least, and this has really put me off playing it because why bother if you don't have a fighting chance, right? And that's my whole point. If you design a game to be difficult for new players to get into, then how do you expect them to push through all the bullshit to reach a point where the game starts to be enjoyable? I mean, I don't enjoy 6v6 close quarters COD style shooters as it is, but I enjoy them even less when they're broken and running at 30 FPS. I don't understand why Bungie couldn't have just made the multiplayer completely separate to the single player, just like every other FPS game out there. Honestly, if you want some free advice, Bungie, the way that you make an FPS shooter that everyone wants to play in 2014 is to take COD controls and the same unlock and upgrade system from BF4, put a sci-fi skin on it, add some special abilities and dedicated servers, and then you call it a day. It's really not that hard. I mean, if they wanted to design a COD killer, then they've failed, and if they wanted to design a great MMO with a great storyline, well, it looks like they've failed at that too. Now you guys might be watching and thinking, well, they're just trying out new ideas, and isn't innovation what the FPS genre needs right now? Well, yes it does, but not at the expense of a fair and balanced game. I mean, there's a reason that COD games sell more and more every year, and it's because they're onto a model that works, and if they change it too much, maybe they'll break it. Destiny's problem is that it's too ambitious. Bungie have tried to recreate the magic of Halo, but have ended up creating a stunning looking but mediocre game that I doubt will stand the test of time. It's a real shame because I had such high hopes for this game, but when you start asking yourself, is it really worth my time to actually grind hard enough to become good at this game, you know there's a problem. But I don't know, I'm just one player and maybe I'm overanalyzing this. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and if you agree with anything that I've said in this video, please hit that like button. As always, if you like what you see, please remember to like, comment and subscribe, and if you haven't already, please check out all my other Battlefield 4 videos. I've got them all linked in a playlist in the description below. And until next time, see you later and have a good one.